Welcome to the Casting Forward podcast, brought to you by Clubmate, the all-in-one management platform for clubs and fisheries. We'll be talking all things fish and fishing with new guests every episode from the world of angling, from fishery managers to some of the best anglers in the country, finding out what they're up to, advice for your fishery and thoughts on the future of the sport. So let's get started. Hi guys, welcome to the latest episode of the Clubmate Casting Forward podcast. We've got a little bit of something different today. We're actually on the bankside. We're out fishing on GPS Fisheries at Stibbington in Peterborough. It's one of our Clubmate venues. And we've got a special guest with us today. We've got Mr. Martin Bowler of Fishflix fame and Catching the Impossible. Hi Martin, how are you doing?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Nice location, and it's not raining, so that's good.
Well, this year that's actually a bonus, to be fair. We're doing quite well. So what do you think of the lake then?
Yeah, no, beautiful place. I used to live over the east side of the country. I come from Luton. I live in Wiltshire now, so I don't get those big skies. So that's what I miss from the east side of the country. So it's nice to be here. Hopefully we'll get a nice sunset. But yeah, fished a lot in this area, sort of like Cambridgeshire way in the past. So it's good to be back, really. Returned from the west.
Yeah, foreigners have returned. But there's nothing quite like the Nene Valley for fishing, to be honest. There's so much fishing around this side of the country. You're spoiled for choice, really.
I always associate this as I'm driving up this area with Bob Church.
Yeah.
Because I used to fish with dear old Bob. Lovely bloke, great times. He introduced me to salmon fishing, got me into that. So whenever I come up this way, I instantly think of Bob Church. So yeah, fond memories and a great place to fish.
So we're here today visiting what is hopefully a prolific tench venue. We're hopefully going to have a fish soon. But we've come together to talk about a partnership or friendship between Fishflix and Clubmate. I think we've got a lot in common. So do you want to tell us where you are with Fishflix, where that was born from, what your ideas were, and what the thought process was behind, making your own films like that?
I think sort of like Fishflix, I'd have to go sort of like back in time even further, like Catching the Impossible or with dear old Uncle John doing some go fishings. I've always liked that style of film that includes nature as well, and it's all about the adventure. I love all that scenery, the music, that whole thing. Working with Hugh Miles, obviously he was behind Passion Wrangling, so that whole style of filming appeals to me. And I guess my Angling Times column, which I've wrote for 20 years, has tried to replicate that in pictures and words. But I sort of like never felt I was achieving that after Catching the Impossible. We did DVDs of Fish for All Seasons, Seeking Shadows. But then that market died, the DVD market, and it was YouTube. And I never really felt I fitted in there because I don't know whether I'm miserable because I can't stand silliness, right? Or red arrows pointing down or stupid punchlines just to drag people in, and I didn't really have any place whatsoever in that market because I'm not prepared to do that. Fine if people want to do that, I'm not knocking them because there is definitely a market. It's just not for me. It wasn't portraying the sport as I felt it should be, and I think that's important to say. There's lots of different ways to show it, and I met Lawrence, and we worked together, and sort of like we had, I think, a lot in common of seeing how or feeling how we should show the sport. We also felt that it was how we like to show the sport was missing. There's a lot of technical stuff, as I've said. There's a lot of silliness. There's a lot of vlogging, is it called, or whatever. But there wasn't that John Wilson-esque style films. So I worked with Lawrence. We worked well together, I felt. We could sort of like play it off of each other. And from there, sort of like the idea came, and it was, I'd have to say, most people think it's my idea. It was more Lawrence's. And I would also say Lawrence came up with the name Fishflix. And it was like, shall we give it a go? Yeah, why not? So that was how we sort of like got together. And then what we decided to do was, it's a subscription channel, because our type of films, bizarrely, if we put them on YouTube, I think people would love them, but we wouldn't get enough people to love them, because the majority want the vlogging, the red arrows, the crazy films.
Yeah.
So there's no way we could monetize or pay for our films. So the only way is to make it, unfortunately, niche-y almost, and put a small charge on what we make every month. We go out and meet similar-minded anglers, or we go and make sort of like an epic film together. There is technical content, and we've been doing it 7-8 months now, and it's been growing nicely. It surprised us that there actually is a demand like we hoped. We hoped it wasn't just us two that like that kind of thing. And there has been a demand. We've had some great support from the industry, you know, really, really, really good support from people and anglers, you know, because they wanted to help us portray the sport like that. And yeah, that's how it's all come together, really. There is technical elements in there. Of course, you know, it'd be silly not to teach someone how to catch a few more. But I think what we're trying to do is teach people how to love angling, not solely how to catch fish. There's plenty of places you can go to and get a rig and get that. We want to, you put it on 20 minutes and you just go to a wonderful place. And you approached us, I think was at the Big One show, and spoke to us. And yeah, I mean, a lot of our, you'd think, well, Clubmate, where's the connection? But people always think we're off filming in private syndicates, and all my angling times have been at private places. And of course I do get benefits, but a lot of the venues that I have worked on over the years for articles and for Fishflix now, or DVDs or Catching Impossible, were club waters. And that is the backbone of our sport. So hopefully there's people who are members or have joined their club through Clubmate, and they would like to have a look at Fishflix and be inspired to, you know, just give them the passion to keep going. That's what we want to do.
Now, you're exactly right. YouTube has got its audience, but it was missing kind of what you bring to angling. YouTube's fantastic. There's so much out there in terms of how to pick up angling. Now, this was all missing when me and you were growing up and when we were fishing. You had to know someone or go out and, you know, learn how to do these things. These days you can type anything into Google, anything into YouTube, and learn how to catch any fish on the planet. But what's missing is that old romantic style of filmmaking that's in touch with nature, that's beautiful, you know, that's got, you know, loads of content, you know, really nice fishing. The John Wilson-esque style kind of wander down a river and, you know, just catch some fish and be happy for the joy of fishing.
That's it, and it's the all-rounder. They're rarer, they're so rare these days. I am an all-round angler. That's what I would class myself as. I follow the seasons, game, sea and course. I love it all. So it's celebrating that as well, which was John Wilson. But I think it was, look, I'll be honest, I can't make it on YouTube. I don't think Lawrence can make it on YouTube. Now, that does not mean that Lawrence isn't very, very, very good at what he does, but that market doesn't want what we supply, and hopefully there is enough of a market that does want what we supply. So yeah, I think you have to be honest with yourself sometimes, and I've worked in media a long time, and just realise I can't make a success. I cannot make a success on YouTube. Too old, too miserable, you know, and probably don't want to do it.
You said it, I didn't.
No, but that's the reality of it.
It's a different pace of filmmaking.
Yeah,
you know, YouTube is fast paced. You know, shorts these days are the most popular format, where everything's 60 seconds or less. Now, nothing happens on the side of a lake like this in 60 seconds. We can sit here, we can watch the insects hatch, we can watch the birds. None of this happens in 60 seconds. And like you say, you're an all-rounder. You're a famous all-rounder, probably the most famous, or certainly one of the biggest all-rounders in the sport and in the industry for a very long time. And for us, that's probably the appeal and why we had that conversation, why we approached you to talk about a collaboration between Clubmate and Martin Bowler and Fishflix.
Well, a club has a variety of waters, so by its very essence, it's an all-rounder, and that's what, I don't want to make it solely about Fishflix, but that's what Fishflix tries to be, and that's what I've tried to be. I've tried to tell people over the years, look, I like a big fish, and don't get me wrong, sometimes I think, right, I want a big one, but I also like the techniques. I think we should celebrate how you fish as much as what you've caught. You know, the reward shouldn't only be how many of you smashed out of a lake. It should be how big a smile is it walking back. And if that is you saw a deer, you saw a kingfisher, and you caught one tench, oh, great. That's all it is.
I think it's all about the art of fishing rather than, fishing for fishing's sake. It's about the art of fishing and what that draws from the environment. And, Clubmate and all-rounders go well together because we've got so many different clients on so many different venues. We've got small angling clubs, big fisheries, syndicates, day ticket waters, where you can catch everything from gudgeon right up to 50, 60 pound carp, and it appeals to so many audiences, and we can we service so many different clients from different backgrounds. One of the joys of what I do is that I speak to different fishery owners every day. I speak to a different lake owner, river owner, river keeper, bailiffs, and I'm speaking, it's a joy to work in.
But isn't that the beauty of fishing? It can be something to everyone.
Yeah.
You can find, that's the great thing about angling, you can find what you want to find out of it.
Yeah.
That's my advice to people is don't do what you enjoy. It doesn't matter if you want to catch a little brown trout that big and it gives you a buzz or a whacking great carp. Just find what you love.
Absolutely, and that's what Fishflix is. That's the purpose of Fishflix, and that has come across in all of the films. And it's not just about celebrating Martin Bowler. There are people on there. There is
God, you don't want to do that. Trust me, my wife doesn't want that. She's like, we want other people on there.
There are so many different anglers on there fishing for different species with different methods, but all made with the same beautiful cinematography. And this is the very reason, and I'll say it was a very personal thing for me, that when we start looking at kind of offering our members more with what we do with our software, and we would like to start offering some member benefits, my first thought was Martin Bowler, Fishflix, because we're offering the best content and quality filmmaking from a guy that I grew up watching. This was when I was fishing in my teenage years.
You had a rough old childhood, didn't you?
Oh yeah. When I was growing up in my teenage years, I was watching you catching the impossible, and
God, that was a long time ago now.
It was a long time ago. Depressing as it is for both of us.
Do you know what? That was 4 years. 4 years that took us to make. Not flat out. First 2 years flat out, and then the second 2 years keep going back over the scenes because you have to go back and get something extra to add into it. And do you know what? I couldn't do that again. That was hard work.
It's a young man's sport, that one.
I was doing it at the same time, so I was full-time angler or angling journalist, I would call myself. So it's sometimes in that period, I was probably at the peak of how much I was writing. It wasn't only Angling Times, so that's one a week, monthlies and foreign magazines. I think my record was over 130 articles in a year. So
it's a lot of content, a lot of pressure to keep writing that content.
Yeah, but you sort of I think you get used to it and almost thrive on it, and you either love or hate creating stuff. And we go back to John Wilson again. John, the reason why he was well known and why he was very good at what he did, he loved creating, he loved portraying the sport. And I've always enjoyed that. So providing that is as important or more important than actually catching the next big fish, then it's never so bad. If all you were focused on is the next pound and ounces, it would become a noose around your neck because it slows you down. My job is to portray the sport, so that may cost me a fish because, for example, you're perch fishing at dusk and the perch come on, and in that next half hour you can catch 4. But the sky is brilliant red. It's lovely. Got to get your tripod set up. Do I photograph one well that gets the front cover of Angling Times, or do I catch 4 and have average photo in the darkness? I have to stop. But you get your buzz from the media side as well, not because people know you, that soon goes. It's you go, wow, I got a nice story to write, or I like that picture.
Well, we're back to the art of fishing again. We're back to the art in it, and you've captured a moment there that will mean more than 4 perch. You've captured one moment that really sums up angling, and that means a lot to a lot of people. So
I'd like to think so. Catching Impossible, that was, Jesus, sometimes we would get there on a Sunday, we wouldn't cast out till the Thursday because the sun weren't right, never come up right. And people go, why don't you just fish? Well, everyone you catch off camera makes that one on camera harder.
Yeah.
So you don't. And even now, it's a battle. When you've got a load of fish feeding and you just want to cast out, it's a battle. But if you want to make good content, that's not quite true, because in the modern world, it's much more vlogging. So they're shooting it, I wouldn't say rough already, that's the style it is. So they're sort of like doing it on the run, so to speak. Where what Lawrence and I do, what I did with Hugh Miles, what I did with my mate Jacko, John Wilson, it was much more, not staged, because it actually, everything happens that we do, but it's more, you've got to go to the level to get the extra shots, which slows you down. So if you notice the modern vlog, it's lots of bang, 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 bang,
it's
quick
raw.
shots.
It's raw.
Whereas ours, if you've got the wide shot, then you need the close up, then you need something else, and that's what takes the time, and that's what slows you down fishing. But if you want to shoot a style like Passion for Angling, there is no option. That's why that took 4 years as well, Passion for Angling, and I think Yatesy, is still recovering mentally from the stress of it all last time I spoke to him. So it's a hard practice, but that's what you have to do to get it. And the same with photography. Do you get one good shot or one bad shot?
Yeah.
It's your decision.
So we've kind of spoken about it a little bit. We've spoken to you and we decided we're going to have a friendship or a partnership between Clubmate and Fishflix.
Don't they call it a collaboration?
Collaboration these days. The YouTube guys would call it a collaboration.
Yeah, well, let's have that.
So this is our brief dip into the YouTube world.
I left my street cred a little
We're going to
bit
collaborate between Fishflix and Clubmate. Now the appeal there for a start is that there are so many, as an all-rounder, there's so many different types of angling to appeal to different types of people, and that's exactly what we do. We work with so many different types of fishing, whether it is clubs or fisheries or lakes or syndicates or rivers. So Fishflix has got something for everyone. So
hopefully we can pop along to some of your venues as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. We've got loads of beautiful venues, and I'm sure they'd all like to show it off.
And that's what I say to people when they go, "Oh, I can't fish somewhere beautiful because I haven't got a syndicate." There's loads of wonderful places. Open your eyes, man. We live in the most beautiful country. I'd say it's only the people that ruin it, but it's been a bit miserable again. But it's like the diversity in this country is incredible. There is nowhere in the world, I'm like an old record because I say it so many times, but it's true. There is nowhere in the world within a car journey that you can get to the snowy peaks of Scotland, the Jurassic Coast, the Wye Valley, and across to the Fens. You imagine how diverse that is, and you can fish a lot of that for a club book for 20, 30, 40 quid.
Yeah, we've got hundreds of clients, on rivers and lakes, and the tickets we sell anywhere from £10 all the way up to thousands. But you can fish miles of river and some lovely park lakes and some great natural venues for £20, £30 a year. It's inexcusable to say that fishing's not accessible. For the price of less than a McDonald's, you can, fish some of the most beautiful places in the world.
I think fishing's cheap. That won't be popular with some people.
No.
But you go and play golf.
Yeah.
You go and watch a Premiership football team for the year.
Yeah.
Flipping heck.
Yeah.
So why would fishing be valued at any less?
I think sometimes we lose context, because if you put something up, it's never popular. So if you put 25% on your club ticket, everyone thinks it's expensive. But when that club ticket that's for an entire year actually still costs less than taking one family to McDonald's once, it's great value. So we need to look at it sometimes.
Yeah, no, I think clubs, certainly. I mean, you know, we keep mentioning clubs, but they're tremendous value.
Yeah.
But look round my way, you know, my local clubs, really, there's loads of river you can go to for not a lot of money. And then even the syndicates and stuff like that, when you work it out, if you're going to fish there like 20 times, it's not a lot.
A few pounds every time you go, it's nothing really.
I appreciate we're in difficult times, I understand that, but I'm talking in comparison with other leisure activities. I don't think fishing compared with other leisure activities is expensive.
No. So what we're going to do as a benefit for our members, we're going to offer a discount on Fishflix subscription.
You never asked me.
Well, we'll tell you later. We'll let you know later. So we're going to be offering a discount to all of our members. So every member of a Clubmate club has got the opportunity to sign up to Fishflix for 20% off 6 months. I'll start that again. We'll do that one again. So, I've lost it completely now.
You're going to say we're going to offer a discount.
Yeah. So, we're going to be offering a discount on Fishflix membership to all of our members at Clubmate. We're going to be offering a 20% discount off a 6-month subscription of Fishflix. So you can all access all of the content on the Fishflix library. We've got great films for roach, chub, you know, eels, everything on there.
And we're adding stuff all the time.
Yeah.
So it's constantly the library's building.
So to be fair, it's a fantastic opportunity. It's great filmography, absolutely fantastic locations.
Is that the word, filmography?
A filmography, I think.
Filmography, I like that. Filmography. I'll tell Lawrence.
Filmography, sounds artistic.
He does filmography.
Yeah.
Right.
Sounds posh.
Yeah, cool.
So there's an opportunity there, and obviously, hopefully, we're going to be filming on some more Clubmate venues. So if any of our clients would like to have a Fishflix film on their venue, get in touch, because it'd be absolutely fantastic to go to some new, beautiful locations, show off some of the venues, and just see what we can do.
Yeah, I think what we're looking for, we always use the same word, adventure. You know, it hasn't got to be a huge fish. It's just something nice, you know, some story to it, a storyline. That could be in a town centre, or it could be in a state lake. There's a story.
Yeah? That's the magic.
If we can write a story around it or film a story, then that's all that matters. And although I'm probably known for catching huge fish, I never class myself as a specimen. I'm quite happy sitting there, you know, fishing the float for £6 tench, £4 tench, you know, that's fine, or £2 perch, or £4 chub. It hasn't always got to be monstrous. So if anyone's interested and they want to contact you, you can pass on the details. They shouldn't think that, oh, we haven't got a £10 tench, so we can't make a suggestion.
So I think we've spoken about, you know, Clubmate and Fishflix, and we've spoken about that. We're both clearly passionate, as so many people are, about these things. It's more talk about you really, and angling, and what we're doing in angling. So what are you doing in your personal fishing these days? I know you're probably busy with Fishflix most of the time, but what are you trying to achieve personally with your fishing?
Sleep. I'm just tired, washed out. I promised my wife no more great ideas of stuff, because I sort of like got carp fishery, Fishflix, Angling Times, Nash. So it's just, that's enough. But personally, there is, what I should say, that means there is no time for personal fishing, because what Angling Times created was, I need to feed that beast every week, and there's no way I can catch a fish or have a lovely photo in front of me, a scenic, and go, do you know what, I'm not bothered. You just can't, because you need so much content. And now with social media, so if I want to share something on social media, I need a separate photo than what goes to Angling Times first. I can share it afterwards, but Angling Times is a paying customer, so they, in my opinion, should get the picture first. So you need so much content, so much. There is no room to just go, do you know what, I'm just going fishing. It doesn't exist, but no one should feel sorry for me. I've enjoyed that process, and it's enabled me to probably fish the British Isles, certainly more variety than anyone I know, or maybe anyone that's ever been. That's not because I'm brilliant, that's just because you know, I've been given that opportunity to write so much, I've had to do it, and I appreciate that. So the cost of no personal fishing is a small price to pay. So the closest thing I would have, and I would still photograph it if I caught it, is salmon fishing. I adore my spring salmon fishing. If there was one thing I could do, and only one thing I could do, it would be spring salmon fishing. They're like titanium when they come up the river. So I mainly fish the River Wye. They come up there and they're like titanium, and they've got like blues and purples in them. Truly wild, and finding true wild fishing in the UK is not easy. And when you collide with one, it's your moment, only your moment. No one will have that moment again. It's got no name to it. It's come out the sea and somehow it's bumped into you. And just that idea of it running up the river and me bumping into it, I love it. The fight is amazing. The locations that you can fish for them are amazing.
I mean, it nearly is magic. You know, what you've described there is a 1 in a million chance that you're bumping into that one.
Yeah, you think your fly, how does your little fly, it was born in that river, it went to sea, it survived everything, and then it was destined to bump into you. I find that amazing, and I love that. And being born in Luton, there was like no opportunity.
It was alien there.
So yeah, it's like only posh people did that. And then one day when I moved west, I was sitting on the River Wye, late winter, and a big salmon off the crib just rolled in front of me. Look at that. And then I sat there, I thought, why am I just pike fishing? Why am I fishing for that? And then from there, I just went on my own journey, taught myself it on that river. So that's the closest I would get in the spring, but it's so fragile. We're at the end of spring now, and I've made one cast for a spring salmon because the river's been wrecked. So when you catch your salmon, you must celebrate it like it's your last one ever, because it may well be.
And we have had one of the toughest years for fishing condition-wise that I can remember. You know, we've had floods, and then it's warm, and then it's cold again. But I think that sums up all fishing, you know, that magic of catching a salmon. You know, when you really think about what we do, and we're casting a tiny little hook into massive expanses of water with a grain of corn on it. And it nearly seems like magic that we catch anything, you know, in all that water with all that food in it. And that is, I think, the magic of angling. It's a bizarre thing to think about, really.
I think keeping the magic is so important. I'm torn because I'm always striving to try and be better. But at the same time, half of me is going, don't do it, and don't encourage people almost to go, not better, but let's take, for example, carp fishing. So we all tried to get better in the 80s, 90s. I was useless. I just cast out into weed beds all night. Wouldn't feel for a drop. Didn't know anything like that. My rigs would just snap. But there was something incredibly special when you landed a fish. Now, get out of the car, put the bird in the sky, fly your drone around, check where the fish are, get your bait boat out. And it's very hard for me to knock because I've written so many times encouraging people to improve. But I do wonder now whether we've gone too far, and we're stripping the magic away. And that may be why carp fishing, at the moment I probably do, although I run a carp fishery, I probably do less carp fishing now than ever, because it's so hard for me to find what I found in the 90s. It's so hard, and I understand someone born today or 20 years ago, they go, what's he talking about? Load of old twaddle. Of course I want to get my drone in the sky, and I understand that, and they get their buzz from it. That's what matters. But I do think carp fishing is very close to going over the top, where it's another phrase I've said so many times, but it's akin to going on a pheasant shoot with a machine gun. You know, that's where I see it, and that's why I keep the magic. When you go with Chris Yates, he has this amazing ability of keeping the magic. And in fishing, you can't lose that magic. If you lose it, everything's gone.
So, obviously, moving on from your own fishing, we're all anglers and we all work in angling. It's no big secret that there's a lot of issues out there in angling these days. You know, we're struggling with participation. We've got a lot of anglers on board with COVID, and I think we're all really happy about that. It's great to see more people fishing, but the problem's been keeping them fishing, you know, keeping them interested and, you know, maintaining those numbers, because we need more people. You know, we've struggled to maintain angling as a popular sport. The numbers have been in decline. We're also facing, it's always in the news, you know, pollution problems, predation, all things like that, and a lack of kids coming in. You know, kids have got their consoles these days, their games, their phones. Less people than ever are coming into fishing. So where do you stand on that? What are your thoughts on, you know, keeping people in fishing, why we haven't kept all these anglers since COVID, or what your ideas are for the future of that?
That's a lot, because it's very complicated. I would say COVID showed there is potential, because people did come into the sport. Okay, I think a percentage of them didn't want to go running, didn't want to go on a bike and wanted a beer with their mates. But I also think there was quite a few people who thought, yeah, let's give fishing a go. That's why there was the boom. But whatever we did it wrong, because we basically had the boom and we lost them all. You know, because the fact is they've all gone, or most of them, it would seem to me. But let's look positive, that there's potential. There are people out there. I don't think we can obviously offer what we're offering now to get them in, because it's not working. I sort of like feel, you know, I could go and say, oh, you need to be like I was as a kid, but I don't think kids are like how I was or my mates were. You know, they're of the TikTok world. You know, do they really want to go and do the same things that I did? No. But I do think there's a craving for getting back to nature. I don't think just hard catching more fish is enough to get the next wave of people. And I honestly believe we have gone over a lip in carp fishing, and we will be losing people in carp fishing. It's had 50 years of boom, and now it will slowly decline in the UK. And I think that's sort of like maybe showing that just catching more, telling them how to catch more, ramming that down the throat isn't enough. So we need to, in my opinion, tap into that, you know, getting outside. There is a push, you know, it's almost cool and trendy, and some other avenues have managed to tap into it and make their brands, their sports, something that you want to go and do. If you look, it's really cool now to get the camper van and go off, you know, and tour around. And it's not sad, is it? You're like, cool if you do that. Let's take an example, almost a semi-fishing brand that's done it brilliantly, that most people wouldn't even think about, Patagonia. Patagonia, you'll now see kids walking around in London or at nightclubs with Patagucci on, because they've managed to make it cool, right? And they sell waders and they sell fishing stuff. Yeti, right? Again, that's another brand that's cool. And they've managed to somehow sell the idea of coolness and get them into nature. So I think fishing somehow should, you know, fishing is not a byproduct, but it facilitates you to get outside, to live that experience that all of Patagucci and Yeti and the camper van people and the surfers and everything like that have tapped into. And somehow, and I'm not the right person for it because I'm not cool, but we need that, because then the youngsters, you can't tell them to do what I did, and they don't want to live that life. They want to be cool. They want to be on TikTok. They want to do whatever it is. And I don't want to, it almost sounds patronising how I'm talking, but we have to find a way to make our sport interesting for the next generation. And we seem to have lost a generation of maybe under 30-year-olds to 15-year-olds at the moment. I'd say that's a lost generation, but we have a chance of people being born today and 10-year-olds of grabbing them early, but actually making fishing like something that is not what your granddad just does, not what someone tragic does. And I work at a brand, again, it seems like plugging, but it's true, I work for Nash. And, you know, they've actually made it, like, cool. You know, to a certain level, they've achieved that. But I think it needs to be pushed on even more than that. And that's why I go to Patagonia and I think to myself, they've managed to do that, right? How can we as a whole sport do that and it not be seen as just a load of sad men on the bank? Because that's what the general public is, just like old men sitting in a chair not doing a lot. And we've got to get over that somehow.
You know, cutting back to that COVID argument, obviously there's an appetite there. We got all these people that for whatever reason, whether it was because they didn't want to run, they did fish. And you know, I'm an angler, you're an angler. I know they enjoyed it because very few people don't enjoy it when they go fishing, when they catch their first fish. And like you say, we haven't managed to keep them all. But I think if anything, angling, the industry, was unprepared for what to do with them. I don't think we had any plan with what to do with them because we weren't expecting it to happen. You know, we didn't know that it was going to be the only sport anyone could go and do, you know, and everything was banned. And, you know, they said, oh, you can go fishing. You know, we got the Angling Trust to thank for getting fishing back on the agenda early. You know, I don't think we had a plan as an industry because the industry isn't joined up in its thinking. We didn't say, right, how are we all going to keep these people fishing? And I think you're right about the cool brands, and I think you've kind of got to accidentally keep them in because the clothing's cool or the gear's cool, and then that just so happens.
Yeah, but also I think there's an ethos bigger than that, like a whole philosophy. Look where angling takes you.
Yeah.
And then you celebrate what all the others are managing to do, North Face, whatever it is, they're all managing to tap into the great outdoors.
Yeah.
And they're all managing to get numbers into the great outdoors, and they're all making it as something you want to be seen doing.
I was going to say,
except fishing.
This episode of the Casting Forward podcast is brought to you by Clubmate, the all-in-one management platform for clubs and fisheries.
There is a newfound kind of hunger for the outdoors and this getting back to nature. It's very much come back in the last 5-10 years even, where people do want to get back in touch with nature, and it is cool to be in the outdoors again, and people are jogging and running and wild water swimming. Now there's loads of water sports that aren't angling that are doing very well, you know, open water swimming, you know, wakeboarding, you know, all this kind of kayaking and stuff like that. Massive boom, you know, we see them on the rivers, you know, they're a pain for anglers sometimes, but it's great to see people out in the environment doing what they enjoy.
Yeah, but people, their friends don't view them as tragic, whereas when they go, I go fishing, God, he's boring, isn't he? and
But as we know, there's nothing boring about fishing.
No,
it's just we're not selling it as anything exciting.
Yeah, it's so hard to see. You would think game fishing would be the perfect avenue for that because
of the adrenaline involved.
Yeah, but beautiful places, a beautiful way of fishing, minimal tackle. It's more about the experience, and somehow they've messed it up because because their numbers are like gone through the floor. I mean, a disaster zone. You know, carp fishing's boomed, game fishing, and you think to yourself, well, closer to that like lifestyle of living the outdoor adventure is game fishing, probably.
Simple and easy and out in the middle of
nowhere.
And
they haven't managed to get it, so I'm not saying it's easy, but I think there is a first for nature, and I sort of like feel that, you know, the current youngsters, maybe we've lost completely because their parents have allowed them to have phones all the time and everything like that. But I think maybe this next generation, the generation coming now, being born now and on from that, their parents are a bit more switched on with phones, and they don't want their children to be staring at Instagram or whatever. And maybe we have to accept we've lost some of the battle, but those, try and get them very young and try and show that, wow, if you go it, you can celebrate the British Isles through fishing. That, for me, I think that may be a chance. I just don't think it's enough to say, and I'm a hunter, You know, I hunt fish, I get my bucket of live baits, I stick a treble on it, I throw it out, I want a big pike to eat it. That's too like blood and guts for youngsters, so they're not going to live that life. They're not going to go through those experiences. It's too raw. So we've got to find another way, and I think that's the way. Get the message over that fishing can help you celebrate the outdoors.
What a way to sum it up, you know, celebrating the British Isles through fishing. I mean, that's exactly right. There's so many beautiful places we can go to, and we've just got to recognise, or get, you know, the current generation to recognise that you can go fishing in all these places and see the most beautiful places on offer.
And not always be fixated on the end result.
No.
It's the journey. Because ultimately, and everyone says it, and it's, no, you want that big fish, and we all do. But when I look back, and I've caught a lot of big fish, when I look back, all the fondness is the journey. I never look at the pictures. I don't sit there and go, wow, look how clever I was. It was what I did with the mates, where I went. I remember all of those times. So I think maybe we need to start focusing away from just purely the end result. And it's the whole experience from when you leave your house to when you go back home. You've enjoyed the British Isles, because I said earlier, we live in an amazing place. People are blind. I see these holiday programs and they're like, oh, look at that scenery, it's marvellous. And they're in Spain and it's just like tumbleweed and brown they're looking at. And I think, what are you looking at? Compared with our country, we are staggeringly beautiful. There is so much diversity, and fishing has facilitated me to see all that diversity. So why not try to use that as the advertisement to get people to see it? Because you will see more through fishing you'll ever do walking around, because nature doesn't come to you, does it?
I think I think one of the things you really touched on, which I think is very true, is that we need to recognise that the newer generations aren't the same kind of people that we were. You know, society has changed. Everything's faster. You know, we've got technology that, you know, me and you never had. You know, back when I was young and when you were young, you had to agree to meet someone at a certain time, otherwise you were lost and you never found them. If you didn't get to, you know, the clock tower at 12 o'clock, no one was there. You couldn't get hold of them on your mobile phone. So we're in a generation, like it or not, where, you know, phones and technology are key. So we've got to come up with some kind of hybrid method there that appeals to angling through technology. And without plugging either of our services here, you know, what we do at Clubmate, offering kind of online platforms for membership management, managing your members and selling your tickets, communicating with people, is key. Whether it's Clubmate, you know, all the time or moving forward, it's key to have those methods to connect people with modern ways that people
hopefully you can
recognise.
show people that they can access beautiful places.
Yeah.
Or enjoy the countryside. I think that's the first, and maybe as technology becomes more and more and more, and it interferes and, you know, tries to devour you more and more, maybe the first to be outside and live a real life becomes more, and we should be ready to grab that.
Yeah.
You know, we should be the antidote. Fishing is the antidote to that matrix. You know, that we're the antidote, and that's how I see it. How people achieve that, I don't know. Beyond me, I'm not going to be able to solve it. There are better people than me. I'm sure they might be able to, but that's the only chance I see. It's not working as we're doing at the moment. We are losing numbers, I think. I think rod licenses are down by quite a lot.
Yeah, same as they have been, you know, pre-COVID. They've gone into the same
They've
kind
just
of rate
gone
kind of
down
thing.
and down and down. So everyone needs to hold their hands up, me included, because I've been part of the industry, taking money out of the industry, working in the industry. We've all failed, right? If we can all turn around and go, we failed, right, now what do we do? Then we got a chance. But while we don't accept that we failed, like I say, go back to game fishing. What an almighty cock up that is. You would think in this day and age, where you can catch your fish for your tea, stuff like that, there must be so many points to tap into what people want, And their numbers, I mean, around here you have, or did have, lots of trout reservoirs. I bet their numbers are through the...
a lot of these, a lot of the game fishing, a lot of the trout reservoirs have all had to open up to, predator fishing, to make the numbers work. They're opening up winter tickets for pike fishing, zander fishing, that they never had to do back in the day. They didn't used to want any pike and zander. Now it's nearly saving the day kind of thing. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but game fishing is the most out of fashion.
I think it's perceived as being upper class. And it's not. It really is not, but it has perceived.
It's probably the most accessible. I mean, in terms of money these days,
Yeah.
you could go fly fishing far cheaper than you could go proper carp fishing.
Of course.
If you wanted to set up with 3 rods and a bivvy and alarms and a bed chair and a stove and, TV and, power packs and all that, it costs you thousands. You can go out and get a fly rod set up and a few flies for about 50 quid.
But how do we get people to want to access the countryside and the British Isles through angling? That is the question you need to ask yourself, not how can I get people into angling? You ask yourself a slightly different question, which is how can I get them to access the countryside through angling? I think if we ask ourselves that, we've got more chance.
I think one of the keys for me, and this is not a plug at all, is that what you do with Fishflix and your media work and what we do with Clubmate does provide a digital
but I'm
window.
part of the failure. I'm part of the failure.
But-
because I've wrote for Angling Times for 20 years. I might be a small part of the failure, but I am part of the failure. I can't. This is what annoys me. Things are going wrong and everyone goes, nothing to do with me. Well, if you've been taking money out of the sport for all those years, you have some responsibility for what's gone wrong. So whatever I've been doing hasn't really made a difference. It might not have caused the problem, but I've not managed to change it. No one's managed to change it. A few people have got rich by tapping into niches, but overall, fishing has fallen away.
Now you're serving your sentence for your failure in angling.
Well, it's, but I'm always open to sort of
Stuck
like...
with Lawrence.
Yeah, stuck with Lawrence doing Fishflix. No, but I think that's liberating, because if you're willing to go, this has happened, now, okay, draw a line, let's move on, then you can move on.
Yeah.
We won't be doing the same, you don't do the same thing over and over again and expect a different result, do you?
Like I said, we've got to open that digital window to generations that only access things through their phone or their computer. So, you provide digital streaming content that people can see, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful environment, but they actually want to go there. They actually see that, but without your kind of films, they will just see this fast-paced urban type of fishing.
But we need to get over to them that they can go and visit those places. They can go and do it.
That's the importance of the Fishflix films that don't have you in them. That are, a regular angler fishing on a club water and catching a chub, or, going and fish and trot for roach. That shows that you can go and buy that ticket and fish on that exact swim for very little money, and it's just down the road. And Fishflix films from all over the country. And what we do with Clubmate, we've got clients from one end of the country to the other on different waters, like I've said, all the way from £10 to thousands of pounds, and you can take your pick which one it is, and you can go to a club here and a club there, and this one's got barbel and this one's got chub and tench. And I think what we've got to do is open that digital window and hope that these newer generations look out that window and then step through the door to the lakeside or to the riverside, and then we're halfway there. We've got to get them on the lakeside, on the riverside, and we've got a future in the sport. And I think we have got a strong future, as we've both seen. There's an appetite for fishing. We saw at COVID. There was an appetite, as we saw at the big one, when we had our conversation. There were a very busy show. There's definitely an appetite there for people to fish. We've just got to make them actually go to that bankside and actually do it. So
I think there's an appetite for people to want to enjoy the outdoors. We've then got a slot fishing into that desire.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. It's maybe slightly different. I don't think fishing comes first anymore. For me, when I was a kid, it was I want to catch fish. I want to be a hunter. I didn't say those words, but that's what I was. I was hunting those fish, But nowadays, I don't think youngsters think like that. And time moves on, so that's how I see it. Fishing has to slot into the bigger desire. and
It's
become part of
become
it.
less socially acceptable. Any form of hunting, it's a controversial thing to say. It's become less socially acceptable to be an angler than it was in John's day. You know,
Things have changed, but I would defend I mean, you know, I would at the same time say, if I was a fish, I'd vote for angling, because the only people who give a shit about what happens beneath the surface are anglers.
it's all misconception. You know, the misconception that angling is cruel to fish, it's completely wrong. You know, I've done a lot of work in angling, and we've both worked in angling for a very long time. Anglers give more back to the environment, to habitat, to fish spawning creation, to stocking, than absolutely anyone. And all the outdoor folk who like to go walk in the countryside and enjoy it, and perhaps pose themselves as the good guys, aren't actually contributing anything
But
to it.
I'm not sure we've lost numbers solely. I don't think they want to do the same action as what I did when I was younger, how I went fishing and everything. But I'm not sure whether the general public have a hang up about fishing really. Is that oversold too much? I wonder, because I was saying to someone the other day, is if you go in a supermarket, what is the only animal up there in its skin with its eyeballs? The only animal is a fish. You wouldn't have sheep hanging up and ask the butcher to carve you a chunk off. You wouldn't have any other animal, but you have fish. The reason why, no one cares, because the general public don't see fish as an animal. So I'm not sure whether we've got that barrier. I think our biggest barrier is fishing not being seen as something cool to do to enter the countryside. Be a surfer instead. That's a lot more cooler, isn't it? You get some birds. Oh, I shouldn't say birds, modern day, should I? Ladies, but like, it's like, you know, but it's cooler. But that's where I see the barrier to fishing, not so much the action. I don't think they want to go hunting like I did, but at the same time, I don't think they really have an issue with angling and want to ban it. Because how can you, when you walk in and buy mackerel on a slab like that and start eating it?
You've got a great point, to be fair. I've never thought of it that way, but it's a really good point. It is the only thing you'll walk in a supermarket and see laying dead on a counter.
Yeah, so when someone says, don't say anything because we might get banned, they're talking nonsense. Because it's there in the supermarket. You don't get grannies breaking down in tears when they see a mackerel or a salmon laying there on the slab, do they? But if all the rabbits and all the chickens were all hanging there, like, there would be uproar, wouldn't it?
I think the key word is apathy. The biggest problem with angling is probably apathy, that no one's actually that bothered about it. But the appetite for nature is the thing we've got to take advantage of.
Yeah,
and if
I
we
think
can get
so.
them to sit in nature with a rod, and as soon as that, you know, that rod goes round, you'll be hooked, you know, to quote a cliche there kind of thing.
Yeah, it connects you with nature.
There are very few people I've ever seen that once they, you know, they've got hold of a fishing rod with a fish on the end, don't love it. So if we can get them to that, you know, into nature, get them fishing on the riverside or, you know, on the bank of a lake, I think we'll have it. You know, I think we'll get more people.
And we have the mystery, because topside things are seen, but if they want to connect with the outside, where can't they connect? Beneath that surface. The only way you can connect beneath that surface, rod and line. And then all of a sudden your eyes open, you go, wow, this is as beautiful, if not more beautiful than everything else I'm seeing. So we have not just the package topside, but under the surface as well. So I think we have lots going for us, but we have to find our position in that first to be outside. And there are brands that are managing to do it that are not quite fishing brands. So if they can do it, then I'm sure fishing can.
I agree with you. I'm hoping we can translate all this into some real anglers. But enough about trying to fix the angling world, I suppose. I suppose we better talk about, come to a conclusion. Couple of questions for you. What are your plans in the near future? What are you looking to do with the rest of your angling career as such? And then what, if you could do...
Retire. Just do what I do. We've got Fishflix at the moment. We're with Lawrence, and we'll give it our best shot on that. It's all part of the rich tapestry of fishing, so it's just on a journey really. So Fishflix is a focus at the moment, but I've got all my other strands, Nash and Angling Times and everything. And do you know what? I keep saying I'll retire and that'll be it. But I hope I'm almost like Uncle John was when he passed away. He was still full into it all, loving portraying angling. And I fished with him 2 months before he passed away, and we were doing an Angling Times feature, and he was being dragged around the lake by an arapaima, giggling away. So ultimately, if I can do that, great.
And I suppose finally, if you could sum up all of this, state of angling and say you could do one thing to change fishing, you could make one impact on the world of angling, what would it be?
I would like people to understand how special the British Isles is. It is a unique and special place. We have a privilege to live here, and we have an opportunity to enjoy it both above and below with fishing.
That's great. I think that's probably all we can say about fishing without fixing the world again. It's been lovely to have you on today, and we're looking forward to a wonderful collaboration, as we're calling it, between Fishflix and Clubmate. Long may it continue.
Can I go and catch a tench now?
Yeah.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Pleasure.
I'm going to get a tench.
Going to go catch a tench now.
Thanks for listening. Join us next time for another exciting episode of the Casting Forward podcast, brought to you by Clubmate.